Like a lot of people at the minute, I feel like I've just been floating through life kind of aimlessly. Whether you've been stuck in another job, trying to find something else and you're just unable to, like I have been, or you just feel kind of stuck and you don't know what to do with your life and you want something to change. You want a big, drastic change in your life. Well, in 2026, I am committing myself to becoming a full-time streamer. And now this is something that I've been wanting to do kind of for a long time, to be honest. Now, a bit about my background on the internet, as we probably all kind of have somewhat of a background on the internet. I have made all kinds of stuff, YouTube videos, Vines, when that was a thing, TikToks. I've even streamed on TikTok a little bit. So I have given all of these things kind of a go in all of the different forms as well. So gaming, vlogs, skits, and like comedy type stuff, even meme edits on TikTok. So yeah, I feel like I've given it all a go, but I've never really committed myself to something, got the equipment for it, made a schedule, a plan, done my research to really understand what it is that I'm getting myself in for. But this time around, I wanted to really give it a proper go and commit myself to it. So in 2026, that's what we're doing. I'm committing myself to becoming a full-time streamer / content creator, and we'll get into that in a minute. So for the past couple of months, I've been really trying to learn as much as I can about content creation and about streaming and everything to do with that. So today we're going to be delving into everything that I've learned over the past couple of months to do with streaming, to do with content creation, and to do with growing an audience. So where do you begin with learning about all this sort of stuff? For me, I've been looking at what all of the other big content creators and big streamers specifically have been doing and how they got to where they are now. And I did this by watching some of their videos, not just big content creators and streamers, but also smaller creators who have dedicated channels to helping people with growing on their platform, whether it's streaming or YouTube or anything like that. So I'm going to put some links in the description for some videos that I watched if you guys want to get into this as well and you want to see kind of where I've been getting my information from. As well as looking at what other content creators have been doing, I've also kind of dabbled in some things myself. So I've made some videos on TikTok, like over the past couple months, that is while I've been doing all of my like research and stuff. But specifically, I've been doing a decent amount of streaming over the past couple of months. Not so much this month, but especially over October, November, I think even in September a little bit too. And I've learned some helpful things about how to create conversation, about how to be engaging with the audience, and just becoming more comfortable on camera as well, because this is definitely something that has a bit of a learning curve to it. So you kind of have to just throw yourself in at the deep end and figure out if you even want to do this, because you kind of have to want and like streaming in front of an audience of people or to an audience of nobody, and have to look at your own face day in and day out for hours at a time and nobody else is seeing you, or very few people are seeing you, and like being comfortable with talking to yourself. Luckily for me, I am a certified yapper, but to myself. I really struggle with talking to other people in real life, but Lord knows I can yap and yap and yap to myself for hours. So for me, it's easy, very easy. In fact, like if I can stick a stream on, nobody pops in, I can talk the entire way through it. So that's a plus for me. Being a loner really helps sometimes. I'm not a loner really, but being comfortable with your own company definitely helps when it comes to streaming, especially early days, because you're not going to get many people watching. I think the number one thing that most content creators who are big now seem to agree on is consistency is key. So you really want to, like, if you're gonna do this and you want to do this like I do, you really have to commit yourself to it and be ready for putting a lot out and getting basically nothing back. But despite that, you have to be able to just keep going. You really just have to knuckle down. If you want to make something of yourself online, you just have to do it and just get on with it, even when it's difficult and you really don't want to. You just have to motivate yourself to keep going. Another interesting thing that I'd learned recently that I hadn't really thought about before when it comes to content creation, which makes sense when you think about it, but it just never really occurred to me for some reason. But a good thing to do is to diversify your content. So for instance, for me, when I'm going to be streaming, I'm also going to be taking those streams and breaking them down into clips that I can upload to all different kinds of platforms. So when I say diversify content, I don't necessarily mean do a bunch of different things. I mean, do one thing, but on a bunch of different platforms. That way you can kind of get your name out there. And even if you flop on like, YouTube, TikTok, Twitch, you might take off on Instagram. And if you take off on Instagram, you might start to take off on the other platforms as well. So it kind of gives you an opportunity to have like a higher chance of drawing in an audience. You're kind of casting a wider net, think of it like that. And for me, I'm not just going to be creating content from streams. I'm also going to be creating content specifically for my other forms of social media. So I'll be, doing Instagram posts, like original content, Instagram posts, TikToks, YouTube videos. And I'm also going to be dedicating like specific streams to YouTube videos as well. So I'll be making like YouTube videos out of streams, and I'll go into that stream with the mindset of, okay, we need to make a YouTube video out of this one. So I'll film like a separate intro, outro, that sort of stuff, but then use a stream as kind of like the basis for a YouTube video. I'm also going to be uploading just like playthroughs of games and stuff like that as well. So those are just some ways in which you can like diversify your content without having to do loads of extra work as well. Another thing that I kind of already knew going into this is that you have to kind of find a niche to fit into online, because as much as you might have like a million different interests, it's going to be impossible to create content around all of your interests. Even if you give it a go and try to do that and want to do that, I don't know, maybe you could. If you only have like a few interests, maybe you could make that work. However, and this is the catch, if you're kind of like me, where if you kind of force yourself to do one specific thing, you get very bored of it. I think that's where I've struggled the most in the past, is trying to find a niche that I can stick to and actually enjoy creating content in that space. And I get that over time you may become a little bit more bored of doing that thing over and over and over again, more so than you would have been in the past. But I think if you can find something that you can at least do, whether you like it or not, as bad as it sounds, like if you can find something that even if you don't love doing it every single day, you can at least do it every single day and it not become a massive struggle and a strain, something that you hate doing. And for me, I play video games basically every day anyways. And so it's easy for me to kind of get on stream and play games. Now, obviously video games covers a huge, broad spectrum of genres and kinds of games that you can play. So I've tried to kind of narrow it down for the most part to a couple of different genres. So I'm going to be playing mostly, horror games and survival games and indie cozy type games as well. That's the sort of vibe that I'm going for. Because for me, horror and cozy games and survival games, they all kind of fall under a similar umbrella. They may not to like other people, but for me, they kind of, they have the same sort of vibe. It's the kind of content that you can get like snuggled up on the sofa and watch, because that's what I like to do. I like to watch that kind of content in my own time. So that's the kind of content I want to make. So if you're going to do this as well, I would definitely consider finding a niche to create content around, whether it's sports, well, specifically maybe like weightlifting or tennis, or if you're into gaming, maybe like competitive gaming like Marvel Rivals or Overwatch or Rocket League, stuff like that. So another thing that I learned is that it's good to set goals, more so realistic goals as well, because a lot of people, myself included, go into these kinds of projects or go on these little journeys with creating an online platform where they have really unrealistic expectations for what they're going to get out of it. And maybe becoming a full-time streamer is slightly out of touch. And people have done it, don't get me wrong, people have done it in less than a year, but the chances of it happening are very, very slim. But at the same time, I think you have to kind of be a little bit deluded about how well you're going to do. Otherwise, I feel like the motivation is just going to slip away really easily. You can have like an ultimate goal that's, hard to reach. But I think in like the short term, it's good to set goals that are achievable. Something like maybe in the first month reaching 100 more followers on TikTok, or hitting like 50 followers on Twitch, or getting like an average view count on Twitch of like a couple of people, even if it's just something very small like that. Or it could even be like from a personal standpoint as well, showing up every day to stream. Even if you're not looking at like numbers and stuff like that, you could always shift your goals onto something that's achievable for you specifically. That way you can 100% achieve that. If you show up every day, you can do that. I mean, yeah, sure, some things might get in the way of that, but as long as you do your absolute best to show up every single day for a couple hours, or maybe 3 times a week for a few hours each stream or whatever you're doing content wise. So that's kind of what I'm going to be doing. Okay, so the next thing that I had to think about was gathering the equipment. Now, luckily we already had a PC. We already had most of this set up. So I was very lucky in that regard. We already had the PC, already had the 2 monitors. So really all I had to get was OBS to actually stream from the PC, a mic, which I got recently, a webcam, which I've actually had one of those webcams, that exact one, before. And last but not least, this is something that you don't need, but it's definitely something that could help you with content creation, and that's a content creation journal. Now, I'll be going through this in a second and kind of showing you how I've set this up. But yeah, that's pretty much all of the equipment that you need really to stream from a PC at least. I think you need a capture card as well if you want to stream from like a PlayStation or an Xbox or something like that, or a Switch, but you only need OBS if you're streaming directly from the PC. Oh, as well as lighting as well. I do have lighting. I just have like a little light that I clip onto the monitor and use that. I'm kind of terrible at staying on track with things and keeping my head organized and my tasks for the day organized. And so I have set everything up in my journal, and I'll kind of show you through everything that we have here. But I've basically set up kind of an overview for the month and then an overview for the week. And then after I've set those up, I set up obviously each day during that week. And then at the end of the week, I'll do like a weekly review just to like look back at everything that I've done so far and see what I did well, see what I needed to do better, and all that sort of stuff. And yeah, this just helps to kind of, especially if you're doing multiple platforms, you definitely need to have, unless you're really organized in your head, which congrats for you, one. Yeah, this definitely helps if you're doing like multiple platforms so that you can like keep track of everything. I have just like tick boxes to make sure that I've uploaded what I need to upload on each day. I also have in here some like video ideas, goals and stuff like that, and plans that I have for each platform for each month. So yeah, it just keeps me kind of motivated, on track. I always know what I've got coming up because I struggle with coming up with ideas for stuff like on the fly. Like if I have to get up in the morning, come up with an idea and do all of that sort of stuff, it's an extra obstacle that I'm putting in my own way. So it's just something that I can do in the background. And then when it comes to creating that content, I can just jump straight into it and I'll know what I'm doing. I'll have a plan and it just streamlines everything really nicely. Okay, so going forward, I'm going to be making one of these videos maybe like every 3 months or so, and I'll be talking about, growth, how I've been finding things, how everything's been going, what I could improve on, what I've enjoyed doing, what I haven't enjoyed so much, and what I might change. Outside of that, obviously, I'll be creating all of the content that I've talked about in this video so far, so weekly YouTube uploads, daily streams on Twitch and TikTok, daily uploads on Instagram Reels, YouTube Shorts, TikTok, all that sort of stuff. So I'll see you guys out there in the wild. And if you're going on this journey as well, I wish you all the best. We can do this. Lock in, guys. 2026 is going to be a year. I can feel it. I'm manifesting. But yeah, thank you all for watching. I hope this was an interesting video if you're thinking about getting into streaming as well. Like I say, I've linked some stuff below, some videos you can watch. If you want me to make any videos about how I kind of got started with all of like my branding for Twitch and like how I make thumbnails or how I set up Twitch or how I set up OBS, I'm by no means an expert, but I can at least show you how I did it, and I'm a dumbass, so if I can do it, you guys can 100% do it too. But yeah, thank you all so much for watching, and I'll see you out there. Bye.